I want to risk $100 million and I have a preference for, let's say, undervalued financial businesses or franchises, and my appetite is to lose no more than 25% of this capital. So my capacity is $100 million. My preference is the financial services industry. My appetite is a loss of no more than $25 million. I will then go ahead and create a policy that translates this discussion around capacity, preference, and appetite into limits. My policy document would then help me create a compliance and control process that would ensure that these limits are enforced and are not breached. And if they are breached, then the appropriate exception management processes are in place to ensure that the excess risk that has been taken is justified, is tracked, is managed and controlled. Over a period of time, as returns are realized, I may find that I have taken either too little risk or too much risk. And this in turn will trigger the feedback loop to go back and review the capacity, preference, and appetite setup I started this organization with. If there is a change required in capacity or in preference and appetite, it will simply flow through limits, will then again flow through returns, and as long as the correction or the adjustment is to my liking, I may actually go back and further tweak the capacity, preference, appetite algorithm to ensure that returns are along the lines of what I wish or what my organization or what my shareholders and stakeholders require. So I had mentioned earlier that from an aggregation point of view, as well as from multiple elements point of view or pillar 2 risk point of view, there is a framework called ICAAP, Internal Capital Adequacy Assessment Process. ICAAP is a process that over the last couple of years has come through the Basel II framework and is reasonably um, common within the banking and financial services sector at this point in time. So an ICAAP model basically starts with a business model of the financial institution. Then you plug in some element of risk analysis for each given business line. You link that risk to a financial model so that you have an idea of how much booking a certain type, amount, or value of risk can impact your financials. Link that to a liquidity model. So if I am going to go out and lend money against a pool of mortgages, how am I going to fund and finance that? Link that to a capital model for the same question. In addition to funding and financing, what is the amount of capital that I need to put on my balance sheet to support that line of business? Link that to a stress test. What happens when the world goes to hell in a handbasket? Is this amount of capital enough and sufficient? Is the amount of liquidity I've raised enough and sufficient? Will my financial model hold or break? And what happens to my risk numbers? And like all things that we've covered so far, this is not a static conversation. It's a dynamic process that goes back and forth, uh, both in terms of data, in terms of numbers, in terms of analysis, and in terms of recommendation. Now, here's the link. So, within the ICAAP framework, a lot of the work that gets done with our old friend value at risk. Almost everything that we do within the ICAAP framework, especially when it comes to capital allocation, one way or the other has a connection or a linkage to value at risk, which is the reason why VaR or value at risk is such an important piece within the Quant Crash Course. An understanding of that topic is absolutely essential for us to move forward. Now you can take a VaR model and then hook it to a simulator that can run numbers for a bank, for an insurance company, or for any other financial institution. You can hook that simulator to an asset liability model, hook the LM model to a portfolio review model, hook all of these together to estimate what is the overall amount of capital that you need to cover the set of conditions that we spoke about earlier.